Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to an XTIVIA webinar, delivering the information you need for the business future you want. We're sharing our knowledge to help your business thrive in today's new normal. My name is Alex Killian, and I'm the video producer here on XTIVIA's marketing team. And today you'll be hearing from some of our EIM experts. Director of Project Delivery, Veda Rahman, Senior Test Lead, Lavanya Murali, and Senior Technical Lead, Shumitra Bala. To tell you a little bit about our company, for nearly 3 decades, we've been providing a variety of expert IT services to hundreds of businesses in countless industries. If you can imagine the business outcome, XTIVIA can create it with technology. And before we get into our webinar this morning, we've got a poll question for you. So what brought you to the RPA webinar this morning? Whether you're a tester and interested in RPA's capabilities, whether your team is currently evaluating RPA for a project, or if you're a business analyst or user and interested in learning more about RPA, or something else entirely. So let us know. We'll give you another little bit to answer this question this morning. All right, got some answers coming in. So it looks like a pretty even split between testers interested in capabilities, business analysts interested in learning more, and then something else entirely. So with that, I'll go ahead and pass it over to Veda for our agenda this morning.
Thank you, Alex, and thanks for the introduction. So welcome everyone, and thank you for joining our webinar on Robotic Process Automation, or RPA for short. So I'm very excited about this webinar because over the past few years, RPA has become a very popular technology for many organizations, including our clients. So we wanted to take this opportunity to share our knowledge on what is RPA and when it can be applied. So let's take a quick look at the agenda. So we're first going to start off by introducing what RPA is and its benefits. We'll then jump into where RPA can be applied, and then get into what is RPA versus BPM. So essentially to talk about when to use one or the other, and in some cases, both. We will also cover what the implementation life cycle looks like, and then discuss RPA's role in software testing. What are some of the current tools in the market for RPA? And we'll finish off our presentation with best practices for an effective RPA implementation. And we'll also make sure that we leave some time at the end for your questions. So let's get started. So what is RPA? Let's break the acronym down to precisely what it stands for. Robotic Process Automation. So robotic is a program that mimics human actions such as clicks, navigation, keystrokes to accomplish simple or complex tasks. A process, which is a sequence of steps to perform a meaningful activity or task. And then automation, performing a sequence of steps in a process without human intervention is called automation. So RPA, combining all three, is just that. It's mimicking human actions to perform a sequence of steps with or without any human intervention. So one example of using RPA is in the retail industry, specifically an e-commerce retailer. So when you or I, as a customer, place an order, one of the things we've come to expect is communication on the order status. Has it been shipped? When will I receive it? If there's a delay, why is it delayed? And so this is where bots come into play. From order creation to delivery and even after, the RPA bot can send updates to the customer to keep them in the loop. Bots can also be used as a customer service chatbot. So they can be configured to respond in chats with customer to address like simple questions or even initiate returns. So with these bots, the customer support team can concentrate on more critical customer issues. So just think of all the time and money that a retailer can save with this critical process being automated. Also, the data received from this interaction can help understand the customer better, market to them more effectively, and be used to improve the company's overall sales cycle. So this is, just one of the many examples of processes that can be automated using RPA. In this scenario, we created a virtualized workforce. So now that we know what RPA is, let's talk about some of their key benefits in applying RPA. So the first and foremost benefit is cost effectiveness. In the case of the retail industry again, when RPA has been used effectively, average handling times and processing costs have been shown to decrease as much as 30%. And the next benefit we get from RPA is adaptability and flexibility. Some clients worry that they will have to make significant changes to their IT infrastructure to accommodate RPA, but it's not always the case in our experience. RPA can sit alongside existing infrastructure governed and controlled by IT. Because of this, no complex system integration is necessary. The robots interact with the system in the same way a human user would. Accuracy and quality. So RPA has shown to work with a considerable amount of data with a very high level for accuracy. So for instance, in the supply chain sector, we see RPA automate processes like returns, which at one point was a very manual process with a high error rate. So with RPA, the error rate has significantly decreased, and bots can even handle the exceptions that previously required human intervention. So the reason they can handle these exceptions moves us to our next point on insight and analytics. So bots can capture all details of the processes they perform and then store them for evaluation and process improvement. So most RPA tools track, measure, and forecast the bot's performance so that the automation journey can be really propelled to the next level based on these analytics. Faster time to market. RPA tools, they don't require programming skills, really only analytical skills. This means that once an RPA tool is adopted, business users can easily automate some of these small processes that they do. So implementation is easy and quick when compared to other technologies or concepts, and this makes RPA automation faster to market. Efficiency and productivity. Research shows that about 60% of the companies have already started embarking on their journey to implement RPA to automate support tasks. One thing to remember is that RPA is automating tasks, not jobs. So it's allowing employees to focus on high-value activities, freeing them of some of this monotonous work. So we're just going to take a quick moment to throw up another poll question, and we'd love to know, what is the full form of RPA? You're going to get some questions displayed on your screen, and so please make your selection. Once completed, we'll continue with the webinar.
And just an FYI, for anyone watching on YouTube this morning, you won't have access to the poll. If you would like to vote on our polls, just register for the webinar, and you'll be able to do that. Looks like we've gotten all of our answers in.
So let's move on to, and everybody got the answer correctly. That's great. So let's move on to when RPA can be used. When can we really apply it? So some of the areas that we can apply RPA are when a task is highly manual, repetitive, and monotonous. RPA tries to eliminate or streamline these areas. Also, when there is a huge volume of structured data with complex calculations and data entry, RPA has really proven to be the best bet. For example, in accounting, RPA can be used for reconciliation, asset transfers. Another place where RPA is used widely is when standard and consistent inputs trigger processes. So like, for example, Excel, Word, email, readable PDFs, and even can be started by input types that are not readable, such as scanned images. So there's also a few other situations where RPA can be applied. So when the processes are mature, next slide, please. So when the processes are mature, stable, rule-based application that apply rules to, like, for example, store, sort, or manipulate data and rely on multiple systems. An example of this could be handling the processes in sales order management, where customers place the order, system process the order, then shipment and delivery happens. All of these can be managed well with an RPA implementation. So let's discuss one of our RPA implementations. So one of our customers, they have a support team performing continuous monitoring of their servers. They're basically ensuring that the applications are up and running 24/7. So although the actual monitoring was performed by some of the industry's best monitoring tools, the activities performed while monitoring these issues were time consuming and highly monotonous. The team members, they actually need to be actively available and in front of the system, looking into the monitoring tools and fixing the problem. So most of the time, the solution to fix the issue was just a selected few. So RPA was applied here to listen and pick the data from the monitoring tool continuously. So once the bots identify any outage, bots take the corresponding action. So it could be restarting the application server, perform more analysis, or raise a high priority ticket based on the nature of the issue. So this RPA implementation was not only helpful in giving more room to the existing team to concentrate on other critical issues, it also helped in providing insights and analytics. The customer then could use this information to perform the root cause analysis and fix the repetitive issues from occurring. And so, I mean, in addition to this example, there are various domains in which RPA can be used. In finance and accounting, for example, RPA can be used where transactional processes that follow the same pattern and are repetitive. It's been very beneficial with time-sensitive transactions. RPA can play a vital role in supply chain and logistics by maintaining inventory, optimizing, selecting, sorting and storing, and with efficient carrier selections like for product transfers and deliveries. So RPA in the supply chain industry is actually set to impact and improve productivity, efficiency, and accuracy drastically. Human resource services can reap the benefits of RPA by achieving more accurate payroll, efficient employee onboarding, streamlined talent acquisition, and performance management. And in IT services, for example, in server and application monitoring, maintenance, and deployment. So there's just some of the areas that we've highlighted here in this slide. RPA can be applied in a wide range of areas beyond all of these. So we've only highlighted a few. So one example that we'd like to talk about is where we recommended the implementation of bots for our customer, for their customer initiation process, which involved document creation and customer verification. So this recommendation was for a financial services provider that extends loans to customers. So as part of the loan process, the finance agents, they create contracts and agreements to be signed by their customers. They have to gather supporting documents from them, and then verify that they've received everything, and then complete credit and background checks. So all of these steps were completed by agents manually. I mean, they had to populate the fields, generate the documents, send it to them for the recipient for signature. And once the contract is signed and returned along with the supporting documents, they have to verify the signature and then execute all the steps to perform the credit and background checks on the customers and approve them. So this process has been very repetitive, manual, and time consuming. So RPA is beneficial here as the bots are involved from document generation phase with the customer's data all the way to the check. So once a document was generated, bots mail it to the customer requesting their signature and other supporting documents. Upon receiving the documents, bots pick up the scan. They can pick up the scanned copy of the signature and verify that it's actually present, confirm that all of the documentation has been received, and also proceed with the credit and background checks in order to validate the customer. So bots really help streamline the loan process, allowing the agents to focus more on procuring more business, closing more loans, and addressing more customers. And so we have one more poll question for you, is which one of these processes is most suitable for RPA? Please select the best answer, and we'll continue with the webinar. Great, it looks like all of our answers are in. Thank you for taking that. So now to continue our webinar, we're going to talk a little bit about RPA versus BPM. And first, let's talk a little bit about BPM. BPM is business process management. And there's an assumption that RPA can replace BPM, but this is not the case. Depending on the scenario, we can use one or the other, and in many cases, using both would be most beneficial. So what is BPM? BPM is defined as a strategic, holistic, and structured approach for optimizing notable repetitive tasks. So it deals with process orchestration, extension, and optimization. Essentially, BPM manages structured business processes by bringing human and automated activities into an organized sequence of steps. And this really fosters teamwork, streamlines collaboration, and automates production workflows. So RPA tools along with workflow tools can prove to be a game changer for businesses. Both tools, they don't compete with each other. Instead, BPA and RPA are entirely complementary and complete each other. They can be integrated seamlessly to leverage their advantages for intelligent automation. So an intelligent BPM and IBPM workflow can trigger intelligent RPA bots and vice versa. RPA can actually be used as a middleware to gather data from core systems or external websites. So the RPA bot awaits a signal from the workflow tool to perform a specific job, and upon receiving the message, the bot performs the tasks and feeds the process back to the workflow tool. So in essence, RPA and workflow tools round each other off and complete the circuit needed. So now being said, let's see what are some of the differences between those. So I'll be going from the bottom up, starting with technology. So technology, BPM helps to build an application that implements business functionality process flows with the help of business analytics, workflow engine, and many more components. So RPA bots are developed to reduce the routine work of humans. So in automation focus, so BPM focuses on identifying and re-engineering the existing process to build new software. So in BPM, the functions may be automated, but the answer to process improvement is not necessarily always process automation. So it really builds, enhances software, and integrates various systems, removing the gaps and inefficiencies. RPA, on the other hand, is the software robot, that software robots perform human work. So you can still automate processes that have human elements in them, just not completely. So RPA can almost be considered an assisted automation. When it comes to implementation, so BPM orchestrates the different processes in an organization by automating tasks, either using integration with other systems or through integration with other tools and other tasks that require human participation. Therefore, implementing BPM is necessary when we speak of process automation, which requires involvement from both humans and machines, and in which there is some decision making. So RPA, on the other hand, is really meant to be used where there's a high volume of repetitive tasks and types of processes in which human intervention is not necessary and there's no decision making. This is where that robotic part comes into play. And on the benefits realization, so as BPM involves re-engineering, developing, integrating the existing or new system, it usually takes more time to get it to the market and in turn to really realize the benefit. BPM is slower to the market, but there's usually a substantial impact on achieving the strategic business goals. RPA usually provides faster return on investment due to quicker implementation. It reduces the cost of people doing monotonous tasks and gives them time for more beneficial and business critical activities. So in many cases, an organization may not always have the resources and time to fully implement a completely integrated and automated process or have a process that does not require any human involvement. So implementing BPM and RPA together can bring about much greater process automation and value to that one technology approach alone, that one technology approach alone may not be positioned to achieve. So here is our approach to effective RPA implementation. So very similar to other implementation life cycles. So what we do is first, step one is we're going to focus on gathering. So our domain and technology experts They're going to capture the current process and details through various meetings with different stakeholders, and then create the inventory of documentation in a knowledge bank. And then they're going to analyze this information that's been gathered for more understanding and perform a feasibility study. So in order to, number 3, determine the capabilities and finalize that RPA scope and approach. Now going into design, we're going to design the to-be processes with the efficient workflows. And then execute, which involves the entire implementation. So we want to make sure that, we're in this plan is to achieve that business goal with the, with our team of architect, developer, testers, and consultants. And then once it's actually in production, we want to improvise the bots. So it doesn't stop when we deploy. We're going to continuously improvise the bots with continuous monitoring and utilization for bots. We're going to check the exceptions. What are some of the fallout scenarios? And so basically this will help support and provide more insights on the processes that can be made smarter. So we're going to take all those insights and analytics and continuously improve and improvise the bots. So what is RPA's role in software testing? So RPA is a concept that does help automate the human actions needed to achieve a solution. And whereas test automation is automating test cases to be executed in a faster and more efficient way. So, just looking at test automation and RPA. So traditional test automation tools like UFT and Selenium, they involve a lot of coding, which becomes difficult to interpret by stakeholders other than the testing team. So even the testing team needs to be skilled in tools programming language to perform testing on applications. So RPA is an umbrella for a test automation. With RPA, testing is completed like a business user would use the application. So it allows a part of testing, the testing artifacts to be used for business acceptance testing. And so the behavior-driven development framework, which is an agile practice that encourages collaboration, really this has helped help to an extent to overcome the gap between the tester and the other stakeholders. So, however, RPA cannot eliminate powerful testing tools. It can supplement testing for, especially in the area of business acceptance testing. Also for post-production implementation, it can be used for ensuring that processes are working properly and continuous improvement as well. And so, essentially, testing complexities can be better handled by the test automation tool, as RPA is not designed with testing as primary focus. So, just to quickly summarize the differences between RPA and test automation. Test automation tools are usually applied to a product or application, whereas RPA is usually used for a business process. But it can be applied to both. Test automation tools, they focus on testing the functionality, aiming to find issues, essentially, trying to find what are the issues that could break the system. But RPA, it aims to make the process work, makes that end-to-end process, how it needs to be done when we're in production by a user. So most of the test automation tools, they need coding, but however, the RPA tools, they do not require coding skills. And then testing tools, they do focus on various types of testing like end-to-end testing, integration, and system with excellent support on achieving continuous testing. As RPA is not primarily developed with testing in mind, it has certain limitations to achieve the effective testing across the different states. And testing tools are intended to verify and validate if application is working as per the requirements given by the business SMEs. RPA tools are expected to run on the business environment itself to achieve the business objectives. So in a nutshell, RPA tools can be considered as testing tools at a very basic level. These tools are not as useful as test automation tools, which is really meant for testing purposes. So if RPA is applied as a testing tool for a project, This has to follow a similar testing life cycle as we would in any other case, but there are some differences. So we are going to go through the requirement analysis phase. We want to make sure we are getting those details from the business stakeholders. We have to involve test planning, so we're making sure that the activities are planned. We are answering the what, the when, and how in this phase. And then we have number 3, where is the framework set up? So once the tool is finalized and the test plan and strategy is prepared, we have to set up a framework for the project. And this is really, the framework is the backbone of a successful and effective, automation. Then we have the test design phase. So this is where the test suite creation comes into play. In the case of RPA here, bots are created in this phase that can be used to test the features. Test, execution, and retesting. So we're still going to execute the test cases, make sure we're retesting any defects. And then of course, the closure phase, we're trying to make sure we're signing off on it and delivering all of the different testing artifacts and results. So what next is we're going to talk a little bit about RPA tools. So there are various tools out in the market. We're not going to go into detail about these tools. However, we did want to mention that these are some of the more popular ones, and which are here: the UiPath, Automation Anywhere, Blue Prism, and NICE. We've also placed the Gartner Magic Quadrant here for your reference. And now we want to discuss a little bit about best practices for RPA. So, one of the things we need to first make sure is that we're setting and managing the expectations. It is very important that we do that in the very beginning in implementing RPA. So what is the current state and the future state of the system that needs to be decided, and what it can and cannot do. We also need to make sure that we are analyzing the business impact. So bots cannot do everything. What happens is, as we implement bots, based on the analytics, we learn more about the bots and can change them so that they can mimic some of the human actions. So the more inputs we give to bots, and more we apply the insights, the more sophisticated the bot implementation can be. We also want to make sure we are focusing on the design. And this is, of course, comes into the business impact during the design. We also want to make sure we are keeping it simple and modular. So, modularity in this context means that simply to break the complex program down into smaller and more manageable components. Compliance and security. So, organizations that are planning to apply RPA need to be aware of some of the security challenges, like maintaining the audit logs, password management, data misuse, etc. So mitigating these security risks gives us the benefit of an effective robotic automation, like using a password vault, follow strict governance, conduct regular audits, and periodic risk assessments. And then testing and monitoring. So bot performance can be improved with effective testing periodically. As mentioned in the earlier slides, bots evolve to be a sophisticated software within more inputs, testing more complex scenarios based on analytics and work as an end user does. And then always make sure you're planning, designing, and developing with scope for the future enhancements and challenges. So bots should accommodate any new change that comes in the future. It could be for scalability or any new business changes in the process. So bots should be capable to fit in the changes that happen in the system. And the key for RPA, is to think big, start small, and scale fast. You can demonstrate rapid value via pilots, which help justify more massive rollouts with fewer roadblocks. So this concludes our webinar. And before we start answering questions, we'd love to have you take another poll question. Please let us know, was this webinar helpful?
We really appreciate your answers on this question. We're always trying to improve these webinars and decide what information would be most helpful for everyone next. And good to hear. Seems like everyone found this webinar helpful and would love to see more. So thank you for that. With that, we'll go ahead and move on to our Q&A section. It looks like we've already gotten a few questions in this morning. First up, what is the level of programming skills one requires to automate using RPA?
Thanks for that, Alex. I can take that question. Hi, this is Lavanya here. Yeah, with respect to the programming skills, RPA tools as such do not need any or much of programming skills, but it does need good analytical and logical skills based on which we would be driving the business processes. Because these are the fundamentals to prepare the programs to make a robot work. So RPA tools as such have a lot of inbuilt activities that can be, just drag and drop to build a robot. So to answer your question, we do not need any or much of programming skills when it comes to applying RPA.
Okay, excellent. Our next question we've gotten in this morning, what are the popular tools available in the market? Can you name a few? And what tools does XTIVIA use or recommend for RPA?
Yeah, thanks, Alex. So for this question, yeah, this is Shaumitra, guys. So to answer this question, yeah, we have various tools available in market. Like we have UiPath, we have Blueprints, Automation Anywhere, and Nice Systems. And yeah, XTIVIA does not recommend any specific tool. Our team already worked on several RPA tools and they are good. They have their own feature and capabilities. So for example, if your application is like client server based, so you may go for Blueprints. Whereas if your application is like web based, so maybe you will choose UiPath. So what do I mean? Like as per your project requirement, you can choose any of the tool. Yeah, I think that will be my answer. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you for that, Shaumitra. Our next question this morning, are there any open source tools for RPA?
I can take that. So open source tools as such for RPA, there are some of them available in the market, but the big question is, are they available as a package? So what do we mean by as a package, right? So in order to build the robots, we need to program the code that would make the robots work. So in order to do the programming part, we need a tool to do the design and the programming. And then we build the robot. Now the robot itself can be deployed into the production and it can do the activities that it is supposed to do. Now, the tools for developing and designing the robots, yes, there are open source tools available to do that. But when it comes to the actual robot as such, they are commercialized. So we can use the open source tools to design and build the robot, but deploy it using some of the commercialized tools to make the robot work.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Lavanya. Our next question here. Have you ever used RPA during ETL testing? And if yes, when and how are you using it?
Okay, I can take that one too. Yeah, with respect to the ETL testing, so there are many tools available in the industry to do the ETL testing specifically, like Talent or Query Search to do an automation testing of ETL. But when it comes to applying RPA, we can do a lot of simple transformation testing or some mapping that needs to be done, moved from source to target. Yes, we can use RPA there. But when it comes to complex transformation, we need to check what kind of transformation that are there. Based on that, we can decide whether RPA would be the best suitable candidate or whether it is going to be the ETL testing tool that would do the right trick for us. Thanks for the question, Alex.
Awesome. And I think we've got time for one more question we've gotten in this morning. Can we integrate Java or Python with RPA?
Yeah, Alex, I will take that one. So yeah, we can integrate Java and Python with our RPA tool. So like you have to install those extensions, and it will allow you to write your Python scripts, or even you can add the jar files in one of the RPA tool like UiPath or like Blue Prism. There you can use it. And yes, this feature is really strong. It will help you to write your own custom functionalities. So yeah, thanks, Alex, for the question.
Okay, awesome. If anyone has further questions, please feel free to reach out to our team. We would love to answer those and have a discussion about RPA with you. And as a reminder, our XTIVIA webinars are happening every Thursday, so make sure to come back and tune in for our next one. Also, this webinar will be available in our on-demand webinar library on our website, as well as a lot of other great webinars with lots of useful information, so make sure to check that out too. And thank you all so much for joining us this morning. Thank you, EIM team, and have a great rest of your day, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.